What if I told you that entire professions that once defined Yoruba life have quietly vanished almost without anyone noticing? What if I told you that there was a time when every community depended on highly skilled individuals whose work was not just a job, but a calling, a legacy, and a responsibility passed down through generations? And what if I told you that many of those professions are now gone? Not because they were useless, but because the world changed and left them behind. This is not just a story about work. This is a story about identity, about culture, about a way of life that is slowly slipping through our fingers. Today, we are counting down the top 10 Yoruba jobs that have faded away over time. And as we move from 10 to 1, you may begin to realize something deeper, that what we are losing is not just professions, but pieces of ourselves. At number 10 are the palm wine tappers. These were fearless men who climbed towering palm trees, sometimes as high as a 5-story building, using nothing but ropes, balance, and years of experience. There were no safety harnesses, no modern equipment, just skill and courage. Palm wine itself was more. It was part of weddings, naming ceremonies, festivals, and even spiritual rituals. It brought people together. It was shared among elders, used to welcome guests, and offered during traditional rites. Abba had to know exactly where to cut, how to collect the sap, and how to preserve its freshness before it fermented. But today, fewer young people are willing to take such risks for a job that pays little compared to modern opportunities. Bottled drinks have taken over. Urban life has changed priorities. And so, the image of a man climbing a palm tree at sunrise is becoming rare, almost like a scene from another time. Number 9 are the local potters. These were the creators of everyday life. Before plastic and metal took over, clay pots were everywhere. They were used to cook, to store water, to preserve food, and even for spiritual purposes. Pottery was not just about shaping clay. It was about patience, precision, and creativity. Each piece was molded by hand, dried under the sun, and fired with care. The designs were simple yet meaningful, but today, plastic containers are cheaper, lighter, and easier to produce. Metal pots last longer and are more convenient. And so, the art of pottery, once essential to daily living, is slowly disappearing. What used to be a household necessity is now becoming a rare craft. At number 8 are the traditional hunters. These were not just men who hunted animals. They were protectors, guardians of the forest, and masters of survival. They understood the language of the wild. They could track animals through footprints, broken branches, and subtle signs that most people would never notice. But beyond physical skill, hunting also required spiritual strength. Many hunters relied on protective charms, rituals, and deep knowledge passed down from their ancestors. They were respected, sometimes feared, but today, laws restricting hunting, urban expansion, and changing lifestyles have reduced their role. Even more telling is this: many children of hunters no longer want to follow in their father's footsteps. The courage, the discipline, the spiritual preparation, all slowly fading away. At number 7 are the Calabash carvers. These artisans turned dried gauze into beautiful and functional objects. Bowls, cups, containers, and ceremonial items were all crafted from calabash. But it was not just about use, it was about art. Intricate patterns were carved into the surface, telling stories, representing culture, and adding beauty to everyday objects. Calabash were present in homes, markets, and sacred spaces. But today, plastic and metal have replaced them. They are cheaper, faster, and more convenient, and so the delicate art of calabash carving is fading, leaving behind only a few remnants of its former importance. At number 6 are the blacksmiths, the masters of iron, often associated with Ogun. These were men who controlled fire and metal, transforming raw materials into tools, weapons, and instruments of survival. They created farming tools that fed communities, weapons that protected them, and everyday items that made life easier. Their knowledge of metallurgy was advanced, developed over centuries without modern science. But today, factories and industrial machines produce these items in large quantities. More part goods are cheaper and more accessible. And so, the blacksmith, once a central figure in every community, is slowly disappearing. What was once a symbol of strength and creation is now being replaced by mass production. Number 5 are the bead makers. These artisans created some of the most beautiful and meaningful objects in Yoruba culture. Beads were not just decorations, they represented status, identity, and power. Kings, queens, and high-ranking individuals wore specific beads that signified their position. The process of making these beads was detailed, requiring skill, patience, and local techniques that had been refined over generations. Some beads were even considered sacred. But today, imported and machine-made beads have flooded the market. Chinese now produce our beads, and they are not as original. They are cheaper and easier to produce. And so, the traditional methods of bead making, once highly respected and exclusive, are slowly fading away. At number 4 are the traditional midwives. These women were the backbone of childbirth in Yoruba society. They guided mothers through pregnancy, assisted during delivery, cared for both mother and child afterward. Their knowledge came from experience, observation, and teachings passed down through generations. They understood the physical, emotional, and cultural aspects of childbirth. But today, hospitals and modern medicine have taken over. While this has improved safety in many cases, it has also reduced the role of traditional midwives. What was once a deeply personal and community-based practice is now becoming rare. At number 3 are the storytellers. These were the keepers of history, the voices of wisdom, the entertainers of the community. They gathered children and adults alike, especially at night, to tell stories that taught lessons, preserved history, and shaped identity. Through stories, values were passed down. Respect, courage, honesty, and wisdom were taught in ways that were engaging and memorable. But today, television, smartphones, and social media have taken over. Stories are still being told, but not in the same way. The connection, the atmosphere, the sense of community, all are different, and so the traditional storyteller is slowly disappearing. We now have enthusiasts of Yoruba culture on social media still doing the same thing, but not like it was in those days. Technology now stands as the medium with great enthusiasts of Yoruba culture, both young and old, telling the stories. At number 2 are the town criers. These were the official communicators of the community. When there was an announcement, a warning, or an important message from the king, it was the town crier who delivered it. With a gong in hand and a strong voice, they moved through the streets, ensuring that everyone heard the message. They were trusted, respected, and essential, but today technology has replaced them. Phones, radio, and social media now carry information faster and more efficiently. Once the voice of the people, now completely silent. And finally, at number 1 are the tribal mark makers. These were the individuals who carved identity into the skin. tribal marks were not just decorations. They told stories of lineage, family, and origin. In a time without formal identification, these marks were a way of knowing who you were and where you came from. They were symbols of pride, belonging, and identity. But today, things have changed. Modernization, changing beauty standards, and legal restrictions have pushed this practice to extinction. In some places, it is even considered unacceptable or illegal. What was once a mark of identity is now often hidden or avoided. And with that, the people who practice this craft have almost disappeared. And there you have it, the top 10 Yoruba jobs that have faded away over time. Which of these surprised you the most? Which one do you think should have been preserved? And which one do you think might still have a place in today's world? Because in the end, this is not just about the past. It is about the choices we make today. What we preserve, what we ignore, and what we allow to disappear. If this made you think, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to Top 10 Yoruba. And until next time, remember, when a profession fades away, it takes a piece of history with it.